all sorts of ships and boats. Fantastic. But this time, we're a bit inland, sort of rivery jobby, so I've decided to let you off the boat, because I'm dead nice like that. But I'm going to find out how much you've learned as we've travelled around the country. Yeah, loads, absolutely loads. So I'm going to set a bit of a quiz. But first of all, I'm going to blindfold you so you don't know where we are. Right. Now, whatever you do, don't cheat. And I'm going to set some questions, okay? You can't see, can you? Right, jolly good. Right, first question. Okay, right, we're up a bit from the Thames where it comes out, but we're down a bit from Suffolk, and we're near a place where the Prince Regent's wife, Princess Caroline, in 1809, decided to stay a lot, and she stayed at the south end of the village. South end of the village. Where do you think that might be? Edinburgh. South End, near South. Okay, I'll try a different one. This place is famous for its oysters and its roses. And what else about it? Oh, I know, there's a mill outside that Constable once painted. What's that mill called? Dead famous mill. Bill Mill. No, it's called Flatford Mill. This is not getting any better, is it? All right then, how's about Boadicea? She came here once and she smashed the place to bits because she was furious with the people that she used to like and she used to trade with, and she reckoned that they'd been very, very ungentlemanly to her two daughters. Who were those people? The Inland Revenue. The Romans. Claudius, he was here, AD 43, here. Oh, take that off. It's not going to work, that, is it? What? We're on the River Colne. Yeah, I know we are. What about it? And the Latin word for castle or keep is Caister. So what's... I know it's Colchester. I do the questions, not you. How come you're so knowledgeable all of a sudden, Colchester? The old king used to be Cunobalin. Is that right? What was the kingdom called then? Camalodunum. Yeah, I knew that. Obvious, isn't it? Camalodunum. This is the Balkan Gate. A Roman gate. It's the oldest Roman gate in England. Fantastic. It was built as a monument to Claudius, marking his famous victory over the British. And of course, we now know that the British king here, because you've just told us, was Cunobalin, and that his kingdom was Camalodunum. I knew all of that. Anyway, Claudius actually arrived here and took the surrender from the British kings in what is now Colchester. He arrived on elephants. Can you imagine? You've got all these Romans arriving, building all of these fantastic things, and the leader's on an elephant saying, all right, lads, job's good and it's all over, signed on the dotted line, give us your country. You probably would, wouldn't you? Anyway, this was our first city and our first capital. But London started to grow, and eventually this became a retirement home for legionaries, because they didn't live very long. I ought to book in. What do you mean, retire? What? I'm looking a bit jaded. You better might right a little bit. What? I mean, a little bit of the shine might have gone from my brilliance with all the hard work I put in, but I'm not ready for retirement. That's a pub. Called a hole in the wall because they made a hole in the wall to build it. Did you bring all the lighting equipment and the generator? Good. Grab hold of it and follow me. We're going deep down, below what is the castle today, but into the foundations of what was a temple to Claudius. These are Roman foundations. And this was the temple. You're going to see a bigger and better version of this in a bit. But, oh, the light. Good, you brought it. And the great big generator, you dragged that here too. Good, because we don't need either of them. Anyway, to give you an idea of where we are, this was ground level. Look at the ceiling. Look at the shape of the room. Right, I flick this switch, drop that down, there's the room that we're standing in, we're standing there. Basically the Romans built the foundations like that, and this was just sand. Now they've taken some of the sand out so that you can actually go on a little walk through the tunnels. It means you're going to have to pick the camera and put it down and pick it up and put it down. But anyway, it's interesting. You can see here how the temple to Claudius was built. It was built after he died, and by that time he'd been elevated to god status. That's where they were digging it out, and they'd throw it into the middle. We're standing here in that bit where the soil was. And then you start to build your temple on top, and then AD 60, just as you're about to finish your temple, Boudica comes along, kills everybody, and knocks it down. They did continue to rebuild it, and then eventually it fell down during the Dark Ages. Why was she so angry, AD 60? Well, her husband was King Prasutagus, and he was the king of the Iceni. Now, the Iceni people were basically Norfolk and Suffolk. He died in AD 60, and the Romans saw an opportunity. They dashed in there, beat up the Iceni people, flogged Boudica, and raped her 2 daughters. Not good. Boudica was furious. She got together other tribe leaders and got a huge army and marched on Colchester. She came here, killed everybody, went to London, killed everybody, went to St. Albans, killed everybody, and then eventually the Romans sent in reinforcements from Wales. And they met her. No one really knows exactly where they met her. There was a big battle, and she was defeated. She didn't die in the battle, she died afterwards. And people think she probably took poison. But by the time she died, she'd killed 70,000 Romans. Don't mess with Booty. And look at this, a Norman staircase. Now, what is unusual about this Norman staircase? It hasn't got any carpet. It's the widest one in Europe. They're normally about that wide. This is huge. In fact, the whole castle is huge. And the reason being, follow me, it was built on the foundations of a Roman monument. Come in here. You see, normally, a Norman keep would just be a sort of square little block like that. But this really is 4 square blocks with walls connecting all 4. Absolutely massive. It was started in 1076. There's William, the man who ordered its building. William the Conk. Started in 1076, and it will have taken an awful long time to build this. There's no natural stone around here. The Normans pinched all the stone from the Romans. You'll see that as we go round. Now, nobody really knows what this bit, or on top of one of the sort of tower blocks, what it was. They suspect that it might have been a pigeon loft. It's a chapel, or at least that's what they think. You see, this castle is quite similar in its shape to the White Tower in London. That's the Tower of London. And because William obviously built both of them, they think that this might have been where the chapel is. They're not too sure. The stuff over there, that's original. The tiling over here, this is original, and this is not, which is why it's marked with a border. Right, come on, let's move on. There are some feathers, actually. Pigeon loft. As you wander around this castle, you can see how the Normans just basically ripped up anything that was Roman and built the castle out of it. These are Roman bricks that they shoved into this very, very ornate fireplace. Now, talking of the Romans, just up the road, they found 2 gravestones, and impressive gravestones they are too. This is a centurion. You can tell he's a centurion because he has that stick in his hand there. He has some greaves protecting his shins. He's got a short sword and some light body armor. Now, over here, you've got the grave of a cavalry officer, so he's on horseback. His face is missing. When they originally dug this up, they couldn't find his face, but they went back, dug some more, and there he is, the cheeky little monkey. And they're actually going to put him back onto there, but they're just seeking some expert advice at the moment on how to do that. Over here, this is what we would have been standing in originally. We'd been down in the vaults, we've seen the basement of it, but that's what the building would have looked like. That is Claudius's monument. Fantastic. Boudica burnt it down, then it was rebuilt. And again, in fact, it was done on a much grander scale to celebrate the fact that they'd got rid of Boudica. Here, you've got a mosaic floor from a villa, again, just up the road, but the artist must have been having a bad day, because if you look at the hearts around the pattern, they sort of go every other one, and then 3, and then 4, and then 2, and then... The maths just didn't work. But still, nice floor. I tell you what, I'm really getting into this. Colchester and all of its history. I can almost sense the past, you know. The famous people that have lived and died here. Everything that's gone on. What's the matter? You can sense presences. Can you really? You want to take more water with it, pal. Talking of which, it's getting on, and we could do with some, you know, victuals and a bed for the night. You know a place that's dead historical. Oh yeah, of course you do. Yeah, that's right, the Rose and Crown. I knew all about this. This place claims to be the oldest pub in the oldest city in England. Not the oldest pub in England, but the oldest pub in the oldest city in England. 1383, this place is recorded. I know, amazing. It was a drover's pub. Come on in. You see, the drovers would wait here, animals would be brought to the fields just nearby, and then they would collect them and take them into the city itself, into market. What are you doing? Into the market. And before they took them in, they'd stop and have a bit of a drink and a bit of a nosh. Will you just come with me? A bit of a nosh and get themselves ready for going to market. Simple as that. Why are you looking so worried? What's going on? You can feel a presence. Not again. Oh, well, I know what that'll be. That'll be the legionary who came in here one night wanting some change. He was killed there. Yeah, it was, yeah. It haunts the place. All the time nowadays. Yeah. Listen, talking of money, when I was washing my jeans, I left my wallet by the washing machine, so could you lend me, come on, just lend me a little bit, and then I'll... Cheers. I can go in the bar, you see? No problem. Right, I'm going to check in. Don't worry about anything to do with ghosts or anything like that. Name, genius, address, Buckingham Palace, where do I sign? Right. Oh, God. What a night. That was really frightening. Every time I tried to go to sleep, there was like this sound of jangling coins. It was really spooky, honestly. I had to come down here for a stiff drink. And I even read your Catherine Cookson. It's awful. I need to go to a church for some exorcism. She's not that bad. The Holy Trinity Church, the only surviving Saxon building in Colchester. But then again, Saxon buildings are pretty rare. That was built at the end of the first millennium. Yeah, pretty old. Once again, they just picked up bits of Roman buildings and whacked up the tower. The west wall of the church is actually older than the tower. Fabulous little church. You see, during the Dark Ages, that's after the Romans had left, Britain just fell to bits. All of its main cities just collapsed. Nobody was doing anything. And the Saxons started to come here. They weren't actually used to living in cities, so they didn't really build them back up again. But they realised that Colchester was important, and they had some major buildings within the centre. Someone who used to go to that church, Queen Elizabeth's doctor, William Gilbert, the first man to use the word electricity. And he used to amuse Elizabeth with his electrical experiments. That timbered building through there is where he lived. During the Middle Ages, the main wealth for Colchester was from cloth, but like everywhere else during the 14th and 15th century, the trade declined, mainly due to the introduction of Black Death. And it wasn't a new material. It was the bubonic plague. Ah, yeah. The main symptoms of which are a touch of bad breath followed by instant death. Anyway, there was no workforce. Everyone had died. But Colchester was saved by Flemish Protestants fleeing their country because they were being persecuted. They were brilliant at making cloth, and they came to Colchester, brought their skills with them, and revitalised the city. This is where they chose to stay. And even today, it's known as the Dutch Quarter. Colchester has had its administrative centre in the same place for 800 years. It's a long time, isn't it? That's the place right in the middle of the high street. That is the new town hall. The old one was a Norman building called the Moot Hall. Moot is an Anglo-Saxon word meaning meeting place, so it was the meeting place hall. In the middle of the last century, they decided that they'd pull it down. A local watchmaker called Wire said, "No, but the Norman arch, it's really decorative and it's very special, and I really think they ought to keep it." And they said, "Oi, you're banned. You're never coming near this building site again. And by the way, Harry, put a big hammer through that Norman arch." So they smashed it to bits. They built a new hall, and do you know how long it lasted? Bearing in mind the Norman one lasted 700 years. 50. Then they decided that was no good, so they stuck this one up. And so in 1902, they built this town hall, done in a Gothic style, and this set the trend for Gothic-style administrative buildings, like the Old Bailey. Yeah, this one set the trend. 164 feet high. On the top of it, you've got St. Helena. She is the patron saint of Colchester. She was the mother of Constantine, and more importantly, the daughter of old King Cole. Was a merry old soul, was a merry old soul, was he? All right. Anyway, some say that that's why it's called Colchester. Colchester. I don't think so. Merry old soul. Ooh, there was a downpour then that just sort of went whoosh. I'm soaked. And now it's gone. Weird. What? We could go and dry off in that pub and restaurant. No, we're working. That pub and restaurant is what we're here to talk about. The old siege house. You see, it's all to do with the Civil War. It can't have been that civil if they were at war. Yeah, right, 1648, the war is all but over. Colchester actually supported the parliamentarians. That's Oliver Cromwell's lot, right? They gave them food, they gave them horses, and they gave them money to fight the good fight. Some royalists, supporters of Charles I, got together another army, went to London, got knocked back, went to Norfolk, got knocked back, came to Colchester, and they said, "Can we come in?" The people of Colchester who were against them said, "Oh, all right then." They'll probably only stay for one day or something like that. Thomas Fairfax, a parliamentarian leader, heard about the royalists here, came and besieged the city, encircled it, wouldn't let anyone in or out. The people inside started to starve to death. Hundreds of them starved. They were eating anything that moved. Rats, dogs, even candles, because they were made out of animal fat. I know. This is where Fairfax was based. His siege house, that is a bullet hole. The red thing around it is to show the hole. They're all over this house, bullet hole. 76 days the siege went on for, and eventually the royalists surrendered and they were shot. The people of Colchester were fined £12,000 for harbouring the enemy. It's the equivalent of about 2 million quid today. Bullet holes, they're all over the place. Look at this. We've travelled about 2 miles out of Colchester to a place called Lexton. Do you know what this is? Hey? It's a dike, a ditch and a dike, a defensive dike, 12 miles long between two rivers, the Colne and a river that's now referred to as the Roman River. This was pre-Roman. built by ancient Britons, mate. The king you're supposed to know everything about? Ha! Cunobeline. He was involved in this. The whole area, 36 square kilometres, a sacred area, a settlement, the old kingdom of Camalodunum. They think they found his grave, you know, just up the way, because there was lots of really important things in it, including a medal that had Emperor Augustus on it, and they think that might have been given to him by another king. He was an all-powerful king from 5 BC to 40 AD, and the Romans called him King of the Britons. This is just part of the earthworks that you find all around these woods. Brilliant. You didn't know. So, we've travelled about 8 miles out of Colchester to come and talk oyster beds. No, the oysters aren't in beds. They're growing in beds. It's a different... Oyster beds is where they grow, you see. Anyway, here we are at Mersey Island, which... No, it's got nothing to do with Liverpool. It's M-E-R-S-E-A. That's why Jerry and the pacemakers aren't here. That's right, I haven't got a pacemaker. Right, oysters. Colchester's been famous for oysters since Roman times, and they still have an oyster festival every year here. It's also, you know that, it's also famous for roses. And are these for me? You bought me some roses. How unusual. And oysters, my favourite. Yes, oh, I can't wait to eat those. Lovely, yeah, but why all this sudden generosity? What's good? You've got something to tell me. I'm not going to like this. Does it concern our boat going home? Sort of. You've bought an oyster boat with our wages. How can you spend £40 and sixpence on a boat? Still, if we get a load of oysters, we might make a few bob, might we? Hey, where is it? Where's this boat that we've suddenly become masters of? Hey?